Hey friends, welcome to Learn with Gege. This is the part 2 of our quiz app tutorial on MIT App Inventor. Let's continue coding and improving the app together.
Please hit the like button, subscribe and share this video to other kids out there who are willing and eager to learn computer coding. Thank you.
So today the very first thing we are going to be doing is to initialize our global answers. And the reason for doing this is we need to let our application know among our list of options, how will our application be able to tell what answers are the correct answers among the options. So to do that, just like every time we initialize variables, we'll go to the variables block and then we pick the block that says initialize global, and very quickly we just need to change that name to global answers. So we'll type answers, and then after doing that, the next thing is we need a list that will hold the correct answers. So I will drag the list block. We have three questions, which means we'll be needing three correct answers, but right now we just have two blocks or two slots. The next thing we need to do is to click on this blue icon here, add one more slot, and there we go. We now have three slots. So let's take a look at our questions once again. The first question says, what is the capital of France? And the options we have there includes London, Paris, Abuja, and Nairobi. And we know that Paris is the correct answer. So all we need to do is to duplicate that answer, bring it all the way down, and fix it into the slot. The next question says, who is the current president of Nigeria? We know that the right answer is Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and we duplicate that as well and drag it all the way into that slot. The last question says, what is the capital of Kenya? The capital of Kenya should be Nairobi, so we'll duplicate that option and then drag it into our correct answers variable. So we have successfully initialized our global answers variable to hold the list of all the correct answers for the three questions. What we want to do is to get our answer buttons to begin to be responsive. In part one, if you recall, they were not responsive. Even when you click on them, nothing happens. But right now we are going to make them begin to respond to actions, and for us to do that, you just click on the first one there, and we are going to be picking the block that says when answer button one dot click do. What this is saying is that whenever you click on the answer button one, do something. There should be an action. That is what we want to bring up. And the first thing we want to go to do is to bring our conditional statements or our control block. If then else. This is a very important block in coding. It is used for making very critical decisions. So we are going to be bringing up our math block, and we shall be using this particular block right here to make our critical decision. And in the first slot, we shall be putting answer button one dot text. If answer button one dot text, answer button one dot text. Okay, here we have answer button one dot text. If the answer button one dot text is equal to, we need to go to our list blocks. Now list block, we need to select list item, list index, and then we need to get our global answers and our global current question index. We need this block right here, global answer, and then let's duplicate and change it to global current question index and fix it right here. The next thing we are going to be doing is to set result our label for result 1 to correct answer. So let's quickly go to result1.label, result1label.text. This is it right here. And then we shall be setting it to correct answer. So let's go to the text block and we pick this guy here and then we say correct answer, correct answer. Then the next thing we want to do is in our else block, we're going to say if that is not the correct answer, then it should be the wrong answer. So all I need to do is to duplicate this same block, put it right here, and then change the text to wrong answer. So we have been able to code button answer button 1 to be responsive. We would do the same thing for button 2, button 3, button 4 for the 4 different options. So what this block of code is basically doing is that first it will check if the answer you have provided in button 1 is correct. The label, the result label should pop up correct answer. If the answer is wrong, then the result label should pop up wrong answer, and then you can select the next option in that order. So we'll repeat the same procedure for button 2, button 3, and button 4 for the 4 options that are. The next thing we want to do, now that we have been able to create codes for each of our answer buttons, we have answer button 1, answer button 2, answer button 3, answer button 4, all done. The next thing we want to do is to code for our next button. And remember, the function of the next button is to take us to the next question. If we have been able to answer the first question correctly, we should be able to proceed to the next question and the next in that order. So to do that, all we need to quickly do is to get to the bottom here where we have the next button, which is among our components. We click on it and we are going to be picking the first block that says when next button dot click do something. Whenever you click on the next button, we want to do something, the actions that we want to carry out inside the next buttons. The first thing we want to do is to set the global current question index. We need to set the global current question index, and for us to do that, we'll go down to variables. We pick up the set block, and then we would change it to global current question index, and we are going to be setting the global current question index to get us the global current question index plus 1. What this means is that if you have answered question 1, the current index is 1. You want it to move to the next question, so the next index is going to be 2. That means current index of 1 plus 1 will give you question number 2. So for us to do that, we need to go up to our math block, and then we pick the addition block. In the addition, we'll fix our addition block, and the first thing we're going to put there is our get. Instead of going all the way, I can just come here, duplicate this, and then put it right here, get global current question index plus, I want to add 1 to it, so I'm going to pick this block. I'm going to pick this little block right here. I'll fix it there and I'll change that 0 to 1. And like I said, what this is going to do is to set our global index. At the beginning of your program, the index always starts from 1 because we initialized it to 1 earlier on. If you remember, up here we initialize our global current question index to 1. So every time your application loads, it loads to question number 1. And once you are done with question number 1 and you click on the next button, you want your application to move to the next question, which is going to be the current question index of 1 plus 1. 1 plus 1 will give you 2. So if we have done that, the next thing we need is, well, our control block. We need an if then else block, and we'll fix that right here. And the next thing we will be needing is, if our global current question index is less than or equal to the length of the list. Remember, we have 3 questions, so we don't want our next button to keep working if there is no more questions. So we're going to be checking this condition that if the list of questions we have is 3 and we want to move from question 1 to 2, at that point we still have questions to go, but as soon as we are done with the last question, this instruction should no longer function. So if we go to the math block and then we'll pick this particular block, and we are going to be changing it to less than or equal to, if the global current question index, which is this guy here, we'll duplicate it. If the global current question index is less than or equal to the length of our list. So let's go to the list and pick length of list. Where are you hiding? Length of our list, and we'll drop it here. If it is less than or equal to the length of our list, then we want
Please hit the like button, subscribe and share this video to other kids out there who are willing and eager to learn computer coding. Thank you.
we still have questions to go by our condition that says, if our global current is still less than the length of our list, then we should get the next question. That is why we have this get statement right here. We get the next question. If that is the situation, once we have fulfilled that condition, the next thing we need to do is to call our question. And remember, in part 1 I told you that we created that procedure call question because we do not want to be writing that long block of code every time. Now this is when it becomes very useful. We go down to procedure. Instead of creating a new procedure, all we need to do is to drag this simple block that says call question. But mind you, just in case you have forgotten, this is what this call question procedure is going to do. It has all of these conditions and all of this set of blocks in it. But the beauty of the procedure is that now that I need to reuse it, I do not need to begin to create afresh. All right. So if we still have questions to go, then call the next question. Else, I want my quiz to come to an end. So what am I going to do? If there is no more question, I want to set the question label. So I'm going to click on question label dot text. I want to set my question label dot text, set question label dot text. I want it to say that there is no more questions, or I want to say quiz is over. So I'm going to go to my tests and pick the empty test block, and then I can just say quiz over. Quiz is over. I can put any text of my choice there, and as soon as I am saying that the quiz is over, I should also be able to now set the visibility of my answer blocks. If the quiz is over, I do not need options to be displayed anymore. So I need to set their visibility to false. I don't want them displayed anymore. So let me go to answer button 1 dot visibility. Answer button 1. Another thing I can easily do is to say, okay, set answer button 1 dot visibility. If I am having difficulty finding that particular one, I can just drag any of these set blocks, and then where you have text here, I can now change it to visible, and I'll add it right here, and I want to set it to false. To set it to false, I'll go down to my logic block, and then I would pick false instead of true. What this singular line of code is going to do for us is that I no longer want this option called answer button 1 to be visible on my screen. So I have set it to false. And in order to save ourselves the stress of doing the same thing over and over, I will duplicate. I will change this to answer button 2 and then fix it. I will also duplicate again, change it to answer button 3. I want to make all of them to become invisible. The last one is answer button 4. So I'll change this to 4, and then I would also set all of them to false. And at this point, I want to also tell my user that the quiz is not just over, you've finished, or I want to say something else. So I'm going to set my result label dot one. So I can come here, duplicate this, because I don't want to go all the way down, and then I'll pick, okay, no, this is not going to work. Need to go to result label, set result label. I can pick any one and edit. Set result label dot text, and then I want to set the text to say you finished the quiz, or I want to say great job. I want to say something like great job. So quiz is over, great job, well done, depending on what you want. And then last but not the least thing we need to do is to set the next button dot visible to false, and then we also add it among the blocks here. And what that is going to do for you is that at this point you are done with your quiz, you've answered the last question, there's no more question, and you want to pop up just the information that quiz is over, great job, well done, depending on what you want your user to see. And you do not want the answer or the options to be displayed anymore. That is why we set them to false. You also don't want the next button to be there anymore, so we set it also to false. At this point, congratulations guys, we have been able to successfully build this app. You can add more questions as time goes on, which we may look at in another episode. And you can also change a whole lot of things, the design and so on, as you wish. But very quickly, how do you test your app? All you need to do is, if there are two options, you can simply click on the connect button up here, and once you click on that connect button, you will be prompted to either connect via the AI companion, which is an application you download and install on your mobile phone, or you can also install the MIT emulator on your computer, which you'll be used for testing. But I prefer using the AI companion. So all you need to do, if you have downloaded the AI companion application on your mobile phone, you just click on the AI companion. You can scan the QR code using the companion app on your phone, or you can type in this code right here. And once you type in this code, the application will be connected to your phone, and you can test it out. You can see that it's working. Another beautiful provision that has been made for us is, if I want to distribute my application across to my friends and family, I can just come down to build here, and then I would click on this Android app APK. Once I click on this, I can now convert my application to become a fully built Android application that can be downloaded on any Android device. Thank you guys. See you in another beautiful episode of Learning with Gege. Have a great time.